Welcome to Daily Universe Sports Talk. We're your hosts. I'm Ethan Tanner.
And I'm Caleb Tonks. We're excited to be with you.
Yeah, and we're going to get right into it with BYU men's basketball. We want to talk about the 3-game losing streak. BYU basketball is having a rough go of things right now. They lost to Arizona at home by 3, and then they took another loss at the Allen Fieldhouse against Kansas, and they just went on the road in Stillwater and lost to Oklahoma State. Those first two were both ranked losses. This last one was not ranked. So, Caleb, kind of what were your thoughts on that game?
It was a rough game for the BYU team. They didn't come out super energetic. I mean, AJ DeBonsa had about 4 turnovers to begin the game,
Oh, yeah.
and there just didn't seem like there was a lot of energy there. But then towards the end of that half, they started to get a run going, and they tied the game at the end of the first half there. But they seemed really slow to come out, and that's they didn't really seem like they had the energy needed to go on the road and win that. So
Yeah, it was really weird because the message coming out of that Kansas game really seemed to be that we need to turn things around as a team. That was kind of the message I was getting from Kevin Young in his press conference there. And then, to see them only score 2 points in the first 4 minutes of that game, it kind of looked sluggish as they came out, like they weren't ready to play. Just was it was jarring to see that.
hmm and I think I just noticed a lack of just want to and drive to just guard your yard and to play good team defense. I think that's the
Mhm.
main thing that I noticed in this game. I think BYU gave up 52 points in the paint, which is just absurd. That's a lot of points getting at the rim, which is big area of concern moving forward for this team.
Yeah, in a game that you score less than 100 points, scoring more than half of those in the paint, man, that's a lot of points. Losing after allowing 52 in the paint and only scoring 36 of your own in the paint. I mean, you can't win games like that. You really can't. So things are not looking great for BYU basketball right now. I mean, on top of that, they had 16 turnovers. They haven't had that many turnovers in a game this season. And they did it against unranked Oklahoma State. I mean, what do you think about that?
hmm I think the main thing there is just we're playing a lot of ISO ball, or BYU's playing a lot of ISO ball with AJ,
Mhm.
and it's leaving guys just standing there, not not just moving and things like that. Whereas AJ's getting blitzed with double teams, and he's not able to find the open guy. And so I'd really like to see AJ be able to make that pass out of the double team and then potentially have some wide open shots from either at the rim with Boop or Kata or open threes from Richie or Mihailo or players like that.
Yeah, I think that's a great take. Honestly, I was watching the Nuggets play last night, and watching like an NBA style offense versus what I saw BYU against Oklahoma State. They're very similar. Like these guys are really being prepared by Kevin Young to play at a high level in the NBA. But I think one of the issues that they're running into is, like you said, with the ISO ball. It's that works well in the NBA because that 3-point line is a little further out. There's a little more space for the guys to be able to, work on their own kind of thing. But in college, that doesn't work as well because things are a little more tighter down towards the basket. And so it's a lot easier for a guy to come pull off his man and come help to do a double or a triple team. And, you can't pass that. It's a lot harder to make them suffer for that kind of style of defense. And so I really saw that these are going to be great players one day. Truly, these guys have great, excellent talent, but they're not being able to put it together in a way that works for this kind of ball, for college ball. So it's just kind of tough.
Mhm. And I think it's like once you get that blitz, it's like, where's my open guy? I need to know where the blitz is coming from, where that double team is coming from, and get it right to him. And once you make, like as a team for BYU, once they are able to make those quick decisions of where they know their teammates are going to be in terms of like spacing on the court, they're gonna have a lot more success in in their offense and be able to run that.
Yeah, and
But
they did have some offensive successes. I mean, you were talking to me about there's that one play at the end of the first half. Did you want to talk about that really quick?
yeah, and so right at the end of the first half, Kevin Young drew up a really awesome play for them to be able to tie the game going into halftime. And you see Moo Davis goes and sets a screen for I believe it's Hadim and Boop. He goes and sets a screen down near the basket for Hadim and Boop, who then goes and sets a screen for AJ DeBonsa. And AJ DeBonsa's one on one with the player that was on Moo Davis, and he's just able to drive right by him and just dunk it home. And I thought it was a really nice drop from Kevin Young there, where he was able to just drive right to the rim, and it was wide open, and so that they could just go into the second half with the tied game there.
Yeah, and I really felt like that put some energy into the team that had looked slow for the first half. And, having a tied score, that was the best case scenario that you could ask for, especially looking back at Kansas being down 20. That was a lot. It's a lot harder to come back from 20 than to win when you're tied at half. And especially when you have the momentum coming out of halftime on a play like that, where your best player on the floor gets a dunk and he's feeling really good about himself, kind of thing. So, I mean, it was really surprising to see them lose by 7 after, um, you know, having a play like that to end the first half. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think what we could chop it up to there is the 52 points in the paint that they gave
Mhm.
up, and the career high in turnovers was 16, and I think that's really where Oklahoma State did their damage against BYU.
Yeah, credit to Oklahoma State. They played a one heck of a game. That was They played their hearts out to beat the BYU Cougars, and BYU didn't have their best game. I think BYU played a lot better against Kansas when they were able to outscore Kansas in the second half by double digits, and they were able to, overcome that being down by 20 to only lose by 8. And Richie had a career high 33 points, going 6 from 14 from the floor against Kansas. But what really killed us in that one was the fact that BYU basketball only had 3 bench points. It really seems like they can't get things going from the bench players.
hmm And so, yeah, regarding the bench, it seems like it's kind of been a bit of a struggle just to find that production, like you were saying. And so, my solution for that would be to um, put Hadim and Boop in the starting lineup for Moo Davis. Um, he hit a
What do you
couple
think?
big threes against Oklahoma State, but I think that putting Hadim in the starting lineup would be able to like give BYU a lot more energy going into the game, and then
Mhm.
Moo Davis is able to get his share of looks from three just coming off the bench. I think would really help.
No, I couldn't agree more, and I really also think BYU should trade in Beto in for, Keba Keita at that center position, just because he really seems you were talking to me about how he really seems to want the rebounds. Cable wants
hmm
the flashy uh, blocks and he wants the rebound, but he doesn't seem to want it the way that Beto wants to get like a gross, ugly rebound. He wants it no matter what. He wants to get whatever he can get. Um, and obviously, we've seen he's not the greatest offensive player, and he does commit a lot of fouls. So it is great to have the two Kada and Beto. But I really think that if we started him, we might be able to stop those offensive onslaughts we keep seeing that are putting us in the hole or putting BYU basketball right in the hole to start the game.
Absolutely. And I think in terms of like, what I was talking about earlier, just having that will and drive, like Richie Saunders and Hadim and Boop, just having that
Mhm.
will that I'm gonna go get this rebound. I think Hadim really has that, and I want to see more of that out of Keba Keita and Beto. I think Beto's coming along really well, especially for only coming in just at at the break. But I want to see that will from Keba Keita to just I'm just gonna go get this ball because I'm the strongest player on the court. And yeah,
Yeah, I agree with you. So I guess the question really is, should BYU fans be worried about the state of BYU basketball right now on a 3-game losing streak? I mean, we're in the beginning of February here. March Madness is a month away. What Should BYU fans be worried?
I think there should be some area of concern for BYU men's basketball. I'm thinking back to last year where we kind of had that turnaround against West Virginia with Mihailo Boskovic and Trey Stewart coming off the bench and really kind of sparking a rally from the team. And so who are going to be those players to step up in this year? Who's going to be those players that's really going to have that will and that drive that I'm going to play every single possession. I'm going to guard my yard and I'm going to rebound and I'm going to do my job. And so I guess we'll have to see if they're able to stand up and make it happen against Houston this Saturday.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the loss to Oklahoma State wasn't the only bad thing that came out of that game. Um,
Hmm.
I'm sure you saw, but Kevin Young mentioned about the chants that were coming from the student sections, from the student section during the game. It's happened before in a number of games in football as well as in basketball. Notably, Arizona when BYU visited Arizona last year, that was of note. He said this. He said there were some F Mormon chants tonight by the student section that I heard, and he continued to say, "I got 4 small kids at home. I'm a Mormon, and when I go home, they're going to ask me about it the same way they asked me about it last year against Arizona." Um, and it seems to be a reoccurring problem. Obviously, like I don't want to continue to bring this up because we don't want to bring attention to it. But at the same time, it is a problem. And Brett Yormark this morning, he put out this statement saying for the Big 12, saying the Big 12 conference is aware and is investigating reports of inappropriate chants that occurred during last night's BYU Oklahoma State men's basketball game. All parties have been notified. The conference has zero tolerance for behavior of this nature and will address the matter in accordance with Big 12 sportsmanship policies. Caleb, I mean, what are we supposed to do about that?
I think it was very, very timely and very, very directed that Kevin Young made that statement in front of the media because I'm not sure that he would have had, I'm not sure Brett Yomark would have made the statement. Um, but we're glad that Kevin Young made that statement because it really gave light to the situation or it gave attention to the situation that this is happening. The F the Mormons chants are happening, but nobody's really doing anything about it. And so I like the statement that Kevin Young made, and I like the response that Brett Yormark made. But we'll see what actually is the result of that.
There really is no place for something like this in college basketball. The chance they need to go away, but it's okay. We'll put our heads up and we'll move on, um, and transition away from those kind of things. And speaking of transitions, let's talk about BYU football. Let's talk about the possibility of having sponsored patches on uniforms. The NCAA just approved this. Uh, sponsors can now put patches on the uniforms of football players, and BYU has lots of sponsors. What, Caleb? What are some ones you would like to see BYU have on their jerseys starting next season?
I'm thinking about Crumble first of all. Um, we know the Crumble CEO tried or was going to pay the fine when BYU rushed the field against Utah, but then we ended up not getting fined. And so I think that would be the first one that I would look at. Um, I'm thinking maybe like Costa Vida or something. Maybe if we score a certain amount of touchdowns, then we get the whole stadium gets free Costa Vida or something. I don't know, or just
Wouldn't
some
that be
sort of
nice?
like incentive like that. I think it'd be really cool. Just something creative. Just not something that's like super like active. I'm not so sure how that would relate with like BYU's brand, even though they're like super we appreciate their support at BYU. I'm not so sure about their patch on our jerseys.
So Costa Vida is the one that they sponsor uh all the stunts that Cosmo does. Wouldn't it be cool if like there was like a patch that was like Cosmo and it said Costa Vida, or I don't know, maybe something dumb like that. I think that would be really cool. There's a number of patches that would look really nice. I agree with you. I think the crumble patch would look really funny just on there. I know it's like sort of like a pink color with the blue that would contrast kind of weird, but also like might look super nice. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, those are all some cool options. I really think that a cool patch that we could put on there, but might not be the most practical, is if the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter Day Saints put a patch on those jerseys. I think that would look cool. I don't think it's practical though, just because of you know it might not be the best PR for the church, unfortunately. Um, yeah, I don't know. What do you think about something like that if the church was to sponsor BYU athletics that way?
I think that if the if the church had their own patch on like BYU jerseys, that it could give the wrong message that the church is potentially sponsoring BYU athletics and that they're the main sponsoring institution. But we are well aware, being students of the university, that um, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints does not sponsor BYU athletics, but that the players represent Jesus Christ in the way that they carry themselves both on and off the field, and that's what they sign up for when they commit to an honor code.
Yeah, and that was the issue that I I definitely was addressing there, is just because I people don't generally know that, I feel like. So yeah, I think it might cause some contention within just the sports community and things like that. So I agree wholeheartedly. I don't know if that would be the most practical option, but it could be cool. Could be cool. What I'm really hoping doesn't happen is that it clutters up the jerseys, kind of the way we've seen with the way the patches have looked for the Super Bowl. You've seen the like Seahawks image with all the patches, right?
Yeah, yeah, I know. Like the Seahawks jerseys have like the 50 years of being a team in the NFL. Then they also have their like 250 years of like USA patch, and then they have their Super Bowl logo patch, and it kind of just looks very cluttered and it's not super clean. And
Yeah,
so I don't know what your
I've got
thoughts are on that.
I've got it pulled up here on my screen, and like the Super Bowl patch is like blue and pink and yellow, and then the USA 250 patch has like the red, white, and blue, and then and that's all on one side of their jersey, and then on the other side they got the 50, the Seahawks 50, and that one looks more obviously with their colors, but those other two patches just don't even they're not even the right color scheme with the color of their jersey. I mean, they're wearing like their blue jersey and it has the lime green and the white, and it just like clashes really hard with that pink, yellow, and red. Um, and I'm not saying like it's horrible, but it just is very cluttered. And I hope that we don't see that with the way that jerseys look in college with the sponsors now being able to put patches on. I mean, I already thought that some of the conference patches already looked kind of cluttered. That's kind of my personal opinion on the matter. Uh, so adding more patches on there might kind of look like this. So, and I don't know if I want more of this.
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think it's very cluttered. Um, in terms of like BYU players in the Super Bowl, we just wanted to give a quick shout out to Karis Tonga, a former BYU alum who's playing for the Patriots. Hope he does well in the Super Bowl. I know he made some statements at the press conference about how he still follows BYU and the Big 12, and so we wish him the best of luck in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I hope he plays really well, but I really hope his team doesn't win. I do not like the Patriots. So Tom Brady's the GOAT, but I do not want to see the Patriots win another Super Bowl for another 10 years, please. So I'm hoping the Seahawks can pull through. Um, guess we'll see what happens. What are your thoughts? Who do you want? Who do you have winning the Super Bowl?
Man, I really hope the Seahawks win. I grew up an hour north of Seattle, and I remember last time the Seahawks lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl was when Russell Wilson threw a pick and didn't give the ball to Marshawn Lynch, and it's still it still stings to this day a little bit. But I'm really hoping to see the Seahawks pull it out.
Yeah, they need some redemption. That would be that would be great. Um, in other terms, let's move back towards BYU athletics. There was a crazy weekend for the track and field team. Over the weekend, the men's and women's distance teams competed in Boston in their indoor track. And man, Carter Cutting junior at BYU, broke the school record in the indoor mile. Crazy. He was absolutely flying. He ran, get this, he ran a 3 minute, 54 second, and 38 millisecond mile. How crazy! Like that's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane. Like I can't. That's honestly hard to believe because you think about like I think about what I was running in high school and I'm like I was running like 5:30, but like that's insane. That's like less than a minute per lap per 400 meters is just absolutely whack. I'm like, how in the heck do you
Yeah.
even have the energy and will to do that? That's just I don't know.
The craziest part to me about that whole thing is he broke the school record and he got 11th place in his race. And which, first of all, that just means that there was other guys that are absolutely insane. Um, but man, he was running like 58-second splits on those 400-meter splits. That is just absolutely bonkers. Hitting 29-second 200 splits per lap because the indoor track is only 200 meters versus outdoor being 400. It's
Mm.
That's just actually crazy. He was racing against some of the world's greatest. I will say that there was a 16-year-old from New Zealand running that ran a 3:48, if you can believe that. Um, just absolutely insane competition. Raised the level for him to be able to pull this great feat off. I mean, we've known for a while that Carter is a great athlete. He was number 3 on the top 10 charts for the mile after, earlier this season. He's been in the top 10 charts since last year. So he's been kind of like somebody that could do this. Um, and he finally did. So, congratulations to Carter. Good for him.
Yeah,
Um,
Ethan. Mention to me again. You said he got 11th place for only running like just a sub 4 minute mile.
yeah. Yeah. Isn't that kind of wild?
That's honestly
So,
insane. Yeah, that's just crazy that there's so many like athletes that are super like that are just able to run like even faster. It just blows my mind that he got 11th place in that. And so,
yeah, I believe he's 8th in the NCAA currently. Um, I believe that's his ranking. Because there was a bunch of guys in the race that were not from the US or they weren't necessarily racing in the NCAA, like they're not college athletes. It was there was world leaders in this race. Same with Jane Headingren. She ran at the Melrose Games this past Sunday, and she set the number 2 NCAA record in the indoor 3,000 meter. So, the Cougars are going crazy with some of these races. She ran an 8 minute, 34 second, and 98 millisecond 3,000 meter at that race. And she broke the previous record that was set by also former BYU women's athlete, Lexi Halliday Lowry, who coincidentally was in that race with Jane. And the reason she's not number 1 is because the girl that set it was also in that race with her. So, what are your thoughts about that? That's crazy, isn't it?
yeah, that's kind of wild that was it just those two athletes that broke the record or was there somebody else?
Those were the only 2 NCAA athletes that were in that race.
Yeah, I think
The
it was
rest were all
cool that they
professional.
yeah, I think it was cool that they had both both athletes break the race in the same like in the same race. And the fact that she's only 19 years old is just insane. Like
Yeah.
how much is she going to improve over the course of her college career is um I'm curious to see. And so
Yeah, and it runs in the family. Her dad was a BYU track and field athlete. I mean, in the same weekend, her brother also set the number 3 record in the men's 3,000 meter. So, I mean, the Hedingrens are just breaking records left and right. Not just Jane, but her brother as well. So it's an incredible time to be watching BYU athletics, not just football, not just basketball, but track and field, cross country. Some of these other sports that don't get quite as much press are really just going off recently. It's been really awesome to watch. But that's all we've got for today. We're looking forward to watching seeing if BYU basketball can bounce back this Saturday against Houston. Uh, they get to host them at home, Marriott Center. Hopefully, the Marriott Center madness can kick in and they can force Houston to make some mistakes, and maybe they will play a little better in that first half. Some of the anger from losing in Stillwater can carry over to this weekend. Uh, but we look forward to talking about that next week. So long from the Daily Universe Sports Talk, and we'll see you next week.